Okay, let's jump right in. So you need to know your IP address, but what is an IP address and what is it used for? IP stands for the Internet Protocol, which consists of four numbers that are separated by a period or a dot. The IP address helps to identify devices on a particular network. It also allows you to connect to other devices on the network. So it allows you to be found and it allows you to search for other devices. You can see it as a mailbox address, kind of. The quickest way to identify your IP address is by using the command prompt. Keep in mind that this IP address is typically your private IP address and not your public IP address. So when you search for your IP address on your computer, you're going to get the private IP address that's associated with your private network. So we can do that by searching for CMD, which is the command prompt. So you select the Windows sign, you type CMD, you open up the command prompt, then you type IP config. So this command, ipconfig, will demonstrate the entire TCP/IP stack or your IP address as well as your subnet mask and your default gateway. So you have your IP address, you have your subnet mask, and then you also have your default gateway. So the IP address is the address that helps to identify you on the network. Your subnet mask is the range of IP addresses that are allowed on that range of network. And then your default gateway is usually your router. So let's say you wanted to configure your access points. This is typically the IP address that you would use. So there are many ways to help you find the IP address that's associated with your machine. One way is the command prompt, as I've just showed you. The other way is via the GUI or the GUI interface. A simple way of navigating and figuring out your IP address is by opening up network and internet settings by right-clicking on the wireless icon. Then you would select view your network properties, and that shows you your IP address. Now this is typically for Windows 10, but another way that you can do it is by clicking on the Windows icon, searching for Control Panel, navigating to Network and Sharing Center, change adapter settings, selecting the icon, and selecting View Status of this connection. Then selecting Details will bring up the IP address, DHCP servers, and DNS servers, which we will cover in a few seconds. Now, I prefer to use the command prompt because the command prompt gives you many ways of troubleshooting, and it also gives you a way of testing your network connectivity, right? So a simple way of testing that you have network connectivity is by pinging Google. So the ping command is basically a test to make sure that you can reach out and you can essentially test the connectivity, right? So when you're doing a ping command, it's sending specific packets to Google, and then it receives a response back from Google with the source IP address, with the destination IP address, I'm sorry. As you can see here, I'm receiving a response back from Google. Now, with the IP config command, if you specify /all, it would also give you the DNS servers. Now, DNS is the phone book of the internet. It is easier to remember a name than an IP address. Now, how DNS works will be covered in another video. Just remember that every domain name has an IP address or multiple IP addresses associated with it. Now, this is true for the outside world, the internet. So if we look at, so we do ping microsploit.com, we'll see that it responds back with an IP address. If we do an NS lookup, which basically it searches for the IP address that's associated with that name, you'll see that it responds back with the same IP address that we see here. So this IP address is associated with this name. So I'm not sure if I have it configured to go to the defaults, to default in there, but yes, you see, it's not going to. Let's see what it resolves. It's taken a long time to resolve, and it's giving me it's giving you guys the non-secure. All right, but you see, that's the Microsploit website. But if I search just microsploit.com, and then now it's secure, because I have the SSL certificate associated with the name and not the IP address, which is fine. People are gonna browse to microsploit.com. They're not gonna search for the IP address, right? So now we know the IP address of this particular machine, and we know that DNS is working, right? So a lot of times when you're trying to browse the internet, you're gonna find out that it's not always that you don't have an IP address, which you can search by just selecting again IP config. It's most probably that your DNS server is not working, or there's something wrong with your DNS, right? So a command that you can use is ipconfig flush DNS. So when you do ipconfig flush DNS, that is going to flush all of the cached DNS on your system, and it will allow you to browse the internet and regenerate all the DNS queries that you did once you opened up the web browser. Now, if you would like to find out your public IP address, then you can open the browser and type the following. So this is my public IP address. This public IP address is associated, it's basically the IP address that, in my case, Comcast provided me. As you can see, from, it is different from the IP address that I have on my private network, right? So what it does is that there's a network translation that's done on the firewall. If I ever need to access devices on my network, then I can reach it by navigating this IP address. If I have the ports opened, then the firewall would translate this IP address and will convert it into this IP address, giving me access to my network, which I'll cover more on that on another video. But to summarize, if you get asked what is your IP address? Well, you open up the command, you select the Windows sign, open up command prompt, type ipconfig, and this is your IP address. So thank you for watching. If you found this video informative, please hit the subscribe button. I will be posting videos at least twice or 3 times a week. Thank you.